My wife Julia thought she was so damn clever, but she forgot one crucial detail about marrying a software engineer. We notice patterns. And the pattern I'd been noticing lately was that my supposedly perfect wife had turned into a world-class manipulator who treated our marriage like her personal entertainment system. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. It was Thursday evening, around 7:30, when everything finally clicked into place. I was sitting in our overpriced suburban Minneapolis kitchen, pretending to read emails on my laptop while Julia fluttered around, getting ready for another one of her mysterious girls' nights. These had become suspiciously frequent lately, about 3 times a week, which seemed excessive even for someone as social as my wife. "Alex, honey, have you seen my phone?" Julia called from the living room, her voice carrying that fake sweetness she used when she wanted something. I glanced over at the granite countertop where her iPhone sat, buzzing with notifications. "It's right here on the counter," I called back. "Can you bring it to me? I'm doing my makeup." Sure, because walking 15 feet would apparently cause her to collapse from exhaustion. I picked up the phone, and that's when I saw it. A text message preview from someone named Ben H. that made me freeze. "Can't wait for tonight, beautiful. Wear that red dress I bought you." My stomach dropped like I'd just stepped off a cliff. Ben Harper, her ex-boyfriend from college. The same Ben Harper she'd assured me was completely out of her life when we got married 3 years ago. The same Ben Harper she claimed to have zero contact with whenever his name came up in conversation. I stood there for a moment, phone in hand, feeling like the world's biggest idiot. How long had this been going on? How many of those girls' nights had actually been dates with her ex? And more importantly, how stupid did she think I was? "Alex, did you find it?" Julia's voice came from the bathroom, impatient now. "Yeah, I found it," I said, walking toward the bathroom. My mind was racing, but my voice stayed calm. 3 years of marriage to Julia had taught me that emotional reactions only gave her ammunition to use against me later. I handed her the phone, watching her face carefully. She glanced at the screen, and I caught the tiniest flicker of panic in her eyes before she quickly swiped the notification away. "Thanks, babe," she said, not meeting my eyes. She was applying mascara with the kind of precision she usually reserved for job interviews or important client meetings. Definitely not girls' night makeup. "So where are you meeting the girls tonight?" I asked, leaning against the bathroom door frame. "Oh, just that new wine bar downtown. The one Sarah recommended." She was lying smoothly, but I knew all her tells by now. She touched her earring when she lied, a nervous habit she'd never managed to break. "Sounds fun. Tell Sarah I said hi." "Will do." Another earring touch. I walked back to the kitchen, my mind working through the implications. Julia wasn't just cheating on me. She was doing it with such casual confidence that she obviously thought I was too stupid to figure it out. The disrespect was almost worse than the betrayal. My phone buzzed, a text from my old college roommate Mike. "Beer tonight? Katie's working late." Perfect timing. "Sure. Your place or mine?" "Mine. Come by whenever." I needed to think, and I needed to do it away from Julia's performance. "Hey, Jule," I called out. "Mike wants to grab a beer. Mind if I head over there?" "Of course not, honey. Have fun." Her relief was obvious, probably thrilled that I wouldn't be home to notice when she didn't come back until tomorrow morning. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Mike's garage, nursing a Corona and trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do with my life. Mike had been my best friend since freshman year at the University of Minnesota, and he was one of the few people who'd been honest about his doubts regarding Julia from the beginning. "You look like someone just told you Santa Claus isn't real," Mike said, settling into the lawn chair next to me. "What's going on?" I told him about the text message, about the pattern of lies, about the growing suspicion that my wife had been playing me for a fool for God knows how long. Mike listened without interrupting, which was one of the things I'd always appreciated about him. "So what are you going to do?" he asked when I finished. "I don't know. Confront her? Hire a private investigator? Burn the house down and move to Canada?" Mike laughed, but it wasn't particularly funny. "You know what your problem is, Alex? You're too nice. Julia's been walking all over you since day one, and you just keep taking it." He wasn't wrong. Julia had a way of making me feel like I was being unreasonable whenever I questioned her behavior. She was a marketing manager at a mid-sized advertising firm, and she used those same manipulation skills at home that made her successful at work. "I need proof," I said finally. "If I'm going to blow up my marriage, I need to be absolutely sure." "Fair enough. But Alex, when you get that proof, don't just roll over and take it. She's been making you look like an idiot. Return the favor." I drove home around 11, my head clearer than it had been in months. Julia's car wasn't in the driveway, which wasn't surprising. I let myself into our house that I'd put the down payment on, that I paid the majority of the mortgage for, and started planning. Julia thought she was so smart, but she'd made one critical error. She'd underestimated me. For 3 years, I'd been the accommodating husband, the guy who didn't make waves, the one who always gave her the benefit of the doubt. She'd gotten comfortable with that version of me. Time to introduce her to a new version. The next morning, Julia was all sweetness and light, making me coffee and asking about my evening with Mike. She was wearing one of my old college t-shirts and pajama shorts, playing the role of the loving wife to perfection. If I hadn't seen that text message, I might have actually believed the performance. "How was girls' night?" I asked, accepting the coffee mug from her. "Oh, you know how it is. Sarah drank too much wine and started crying about her ex again. Jessica spent the whole night complaining about her job. Same old drama." She was good. The details were specific enough to sound real, but vague enough that I couldn't verify them. "Sounds exhausting." "It was. I got home around midnight, but you were already asleep." Another lie. I'd been awake until 1:30, and she definitely hadn't come home by then. After Julia left for work, I did something I'd never done in 3 years of marriage. I went through her things. I felt like a creep doing it, but the alternative was continuing to live in ignorant bliss while my wife made a fool of me. I started with her laptop, which she'd left open on the kitchen table. Her email was still logged in. Apparently, she trusted me not to snoop. How ironic. I scrolled through her recent messages, looking for anything suspicious. Most of it was work-related or conversations with her sister. But then I found something interesting. A credit card statement showing charges at restaurants I'd never been to, on nights when she'd claimed to be with her girlfriends. Expensive restaurants. The kind of places you take someone you're trying to impress. My phone rang. Julia. "Hey babe, I forgot to mention, I'm having dinner with my sister tonight. You don't mind eating alone, do you?" "Of course not. Tell Karen I said hi." "Will do. Love you." "Love you too." I hung up and immediately called Julia's sister. Karen and I had always gotten along well, and she was terrible at keeping secrets. "Hey Alex, what's up?" "Not much. Julia mentioned you guys are having dinner tonight?" There was a pause. "Dinner? Tonight?" "No, I'm working a double shift at the hospital. Did she say we were having dinner?" "Must have misunderstood. You know how I am with details." "Okay. Well, tell her to call me when she gets a chance. We haven't talked in like 2 weeks." 2 weeks. But Julia had claimed to have dinner with Karen just last Thursday. Another lie. I spent the rest of the day doing research. Social media was a goldmine of information if you knew where to look. Ben Harper had a public Instagram account where he posted gym selfies and motivational quotes with the frequency of someone who desperately needed validation. I scrolled through his recent posts and found what I was looking for. Photos from the same restaurants that had appeared on Julia's credit card statement, posted on the same dates. But the real smoking gun came when I found a photo from 2 nights ago. Ben at that new wine bar downtown, the one Julia claimed to have gone to with her girlfriends. He'd tagged the location and posted it around 9 p.m., right when Julia would have been there. I screenshot everything and saved it to a secure folder on my computer. If Julia wanted to play games, I was going to make sure I had all the pieces before I made my move. That evening, I was ready when Julia came home around 11:30, claiming she'd had a wonderful dinner with her sister. "How's Karen doing?" I asked innocently. "Oh, busy with work. She's been pulling a lot of double shifts lately." "That's tough. The hospital keeps her pretty busy." "Yeah, she barely has time for anything else." I nodded sympathetically, even though we both knew she was lying through her teeth. The casual way she could look me in the eye and lie was almost impressive. Almost. "I'm pretty tired," she said, heading toward the stairs. "I think I'm going to take a shower and go to bed." "Sounds good. I'll be up in a bit." I waited until I heard the shower running, then I did something that felt like crossing a line, but I was past caring about lines. I went through her purse. Her phone was password protected, but Julia had never been particularly creative with passwords. I tried our wedding anniversary. Nothing. Our address? Nothing. Then I tried Ben's birthday, which I remembered from when they dated in college. Bingo. What I found in her text messages made my stomach turn. Months of conversations with Ben, talking about me like I was some pathetic joke they shared. Messages about how clueless I was, how easy it was to lie to me, how she was only staying married to me until she figured out her next move. But the worst part was a video she'd sent him, a recording of me singing in the shower, completely off key, that she'd apparently taken without my knowledge. Ben's response, "Poor guy has no idea what's coming." I sat there in our kitchen, looking at the evidence of my wife's betrayal, and felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, but it was being rapidly replaced by something else. Cold, calculating anger. Julia thought I was clueless. She thought I was pathetic. She thought she could humiliate me behind my back and I'd never find out. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I heard the shower turn off upstairs. Quickly, I put her phone back in her purse and returned to my laptop, pulling up a work email to look busy. "I'm heading to bed," Julia said a few minutes later, appearing in the kitchen in her robe. She kissed the top of my head, playing the loving wife role again. "Don't stay up too late." "Just finishing up this project. I'll be up soon." She headed upstairs, and I heard our bedroom door close. I waited another 20 minutes to make sure she was asleep, then I got to work. If Julia wanted to play games, I was going to show her what happened when you played games with someone who understood systems and patterns better than she understood people. By the time I went to bed at 2 a.m., I had a plan. And unlike Julia's plan, mine wasn't going to leave any room for misunderstandings. I spent the weekend playing the part of the oblivious husband while gathering more evidence and refining my strategy. Julia went to yoga class on Saturday morning, except her gym doesn't offer yoga on Saturdays. She had lunch with the girls on Sunday, except I called the restaurant she claimed to go to, and they told me they were closed for a private event all day. The lies were so constant and casual that I started to wonder if she even remembered what the truth looked like anymore. Monday morning, I made my move. I called in sick to work, waited for Julia to leave, then drove to Ben's apartment complex. I knew where he lived because Julia had made me drop off a birthday gift there 2 years ago, back when they were supposedly just friends reconnecting. Ben lived in one of those trendy downtown lofts that cost twice what they were worth, but came with a gym and a rooftop deck that looked good on Instagram. I parked across the street and waited. At 11:30, Julia's car pulled into the visitor parking area. I watched my wife get out, check her appearance in the car window, and walk into the building like she owned the place. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before, probably the red one Ben had mentioned in his text. I gave them 30 minutes, then I called Julia's work. Hi, this is Alex Carter, Julia's husband. I'm trying to reach her about a family emergency, but she's not answering her phone. Oh, Mr. Carter, I'm sorry, but Julia called in sick today. She said she had food poisoning and would be working from home. Working from home. Right, thank you. I hung up and sat in my car, staring up at Ben's building, feeling the last of my illusions crumble. She wasn't just cheating on me, she was using sick days to do it. She was risking her job to spend time with her ex-boyfriend while lying to my face every single day. That's when I decided that being the bigger person was overrated. I drove home and spent the afternoon making calls. First, I called my lawyer, not to file for divorce, not yet, but to understand my options. Then I called my bank and moved half of our joint savings into a separate account. If Julia was planning to leave me anyway, I wasn't going to make it financially easy for her. But the most important call was to Mike. I need a favor, I said when he answered, and it's going to sound crazy. I'm listening. I need you to help me catch Julia and Ben together, on camera. There was a pause. Alex, are you sure about this? Once you go down this road... I'm already down this road, Mike. She put me here. I'm just deciding whether I'm going to walk or run. Okay. What do you need me to do? That evening, Julia came home with another elaborate story about her day working from home and how sick she'd been. She even went so far as to fake a cough and complain about her stomach. Poor baby, I said, bringing her a cup of tea. You should probably take another day off tomorrow to make sure you're feeling better. You think so? I hate to miss more work. Your health is more important. Besides, you don't want to get everyone else sick. She agreed, probably thrilled at the prospect of another day with Ben. I went to bed that night knowing exactly where she'd be tomorrow and exactly what I was going to do about it. Tuesday morning, I kissed my wife goodbye and told her I hoped she felt better soon. Then I drove to work, attended my morning meetings, and at lunchtime, I met Mike at a coffee shop near Ben's apartment building. You sure about this? Mike asked for the third time. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. We walked into Ben's building like we belonged there. Mike had done some research and found out that Ben worked as a personal trainer at a gym across town, but he didn't start until 3 p.m. on Tuesdays. Julia's car was already in the parking lot. Mike had brought a small camera, the kind people use for home security, and we took the elevator to Ben's floor. The hallway was empty and we could hear music coming from apartment 4B. Ben's apartment. I knocked on the door. The music stopped. I heard whispered voices, then footsteps. Who is it? Ben's voice, trying to sound casual. Building maintenance. We need to check the water pressure in your bathroom. There have been complaints from the unit below you. More whispered conversation. Then the door opened, and there was Ben Harper, shirtless and obviously flustered, trying to block my view into the apartment. This really isn't a good time. It'll just take a minute, I said, pushing past him into the apartment. And there was Julia, sitting on Ben's couch in nothing but one of his t-shirts, her hair disheveled, looking like she'd seen a ghost. Hello, honey, I said calmly. Feeling better? The silence in that apartment was deafening. Julia's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Ben looked like he was trying to decide whether to run or fight. Mike stepped into the apartment behind me, camera in hand, and that's when Julia found her voice. Alex, this isn't what it looks like. Really? I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo Ben had posted on Instagram an hour earlier, a shirtless selfie with the caption, Perfect Tuesday Afternoon, with Julia clearly visible in the background. Because it looks like my sick wife is having an affair with her ex-boyfriend. Ben stepped forward, puffing out his chest like he was going to intimidate me. Look, man, Julia and I have history. Yeah, I know all about your history, Ben. I also know about the restaurants, the lies, the sick days, and the text messages. I turned to Julia. Did you really think I was that stupid? Julia's face had gone completely white. Alex, please let me explain. Explain what? How you've been lying to me for months? How you've been using our money to pay for dates with your ex? How you recorded me in the shower and sent it to him so you could both laugh at me? That last one hit home. Julia's eyes went wide, and Ben actually took a step back. You went through my phone? Julia's voice was barely a whisper. Your password is Ben's birthday, Julia. You weren't exactly trying to hide it. The fight went out of her then. She slumped back on the couch, and for the first time since I'd known her, Julia Carter was completely speechless. So here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice perfectly calm. Julia, you're going to pack your things and move out of our house. Ben, you're going to stay away from both of us, or I'm going to send copies of everything I've found to your gym, your social media followers, and anyone else who might be interested in knowing what kind of person you really are. You can't just throw me out, Julia said, finding her voice again. It's my house too. Actually, it's not. The house is in my name. The mortgage is in my name. You're not on the deed. I'd checked with my lawyer. You have until Friday to get your stuff out. Ben stepped forward again. Hey, you can't talk to her like that. I turned to look at him, and whatever he saw in my face made him stop talking. You want to say something to me, Ben? Go ahead. But remember that I have video of you admitting to sleeping with my wife, photos of you two together, and a very detailed record of how long this has been going on. How do you think your clients at the gym would feel about that? He didn't say anything else. I looked at Julia one more time. 3 years of marriage, and it had come to this. I trusted you, I said quietly. I loved you, and you threw it away for this. I walked toward the door, Mike following behind me. As I reached the doorway, I turned back. Oh, and Julia? Next time you want to call in sick to work, you might want to make sure your husband doesn't know where you really are. We left them sitting there in stunned silence. In the elevator, Mike shook his head. Damn, Alex. Remind me never to get on your bad side. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Julia came home that evening like nothing had happened. She walked into our house, put her purse on the kitchen counter, and started making dinner like it was any other Tuesday night. The sheer audacity of it was almost impressive. How was work? She asked, not meeting my eyes. Productive. How was your sick day? She flinched but kept chopping vegetables. Better. I think the worst of it has passed. I sat at the kitchen table and watched her cook, marveling at her ability to maintain the charade even after being caught red-handed. She was still playing the game, still hoping she could manipulate her way out of this. Julia, we need to talk. About what? Still not looking at me. About Ben's apartment. About the lies. About the fact that you've been cheating on me for months. The knife in her hand stopped moving. She set it down carefully and finally turned to face me. Alex, I can explain. No, you can't. There's no explanation that makes this okay. There's no excuse that justifies what you've been doing. She tried tears next. I never meant for this to happen. Ben and I just reconnected, and old feelings came back, and I didn't know how to handle it. You handled it by lying to me every day for months. You handled it by using our money to pay for dates with him. You handled it by making me look like an idiot while you laughed about it behind my back. The tears dried up quickly when she realized they weren't working. So, what do you want? You want me to grovel? You want me to beg for forgiveness? I want you to pack your things and get out of my house. Your house? Her voice got sharp. I've lived here for 3 years, Alex. I've contributed to this household. With what money? You spend more than you make every month. I pay the mortgage, the utilities, the insurance, the property taxes. You buy clothes and go out to dinner. That's not fair. You know what's not fair, Julia? Finding out that my wife thinks I'm a pathetic joke. You know what's not fair? Discovering that the person I trusted most in the world has been lying to my face every single day. She tried a different approach. Look, Maybe we can work through this. Marriage counseling, or work through what? The fact that you don't respect me? The fact that you've been planning to leave me anyway? I pulled out my phone and showed her one of her text messages to Ben. I'm just waiting for the right time to end things with Alex. He'll be fine. He's too nice to make it difficult. Her face went pale again. You can't just end our marriage because of a few text messages. I'm not ending our marriage, Julia. You already did that. I'm just making it official. I stood up from the table. You have until Friday to pack your things. After that, anything left in this house becomes my property. And if I refuse to leave? Then I'll call the police and have you removed. And then I'll send copies of everything I've found to your boss, your family, and everyone we know. Your choice. She stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to figure out if I was bluffing. I wasn't. You've changed, Alex. You used to be kind. I used to be naive. There's a difference. Wednesday and Thursday passed in a tense silence. Julia packed her things with the efficiency of someone who'd been planning this move for a while. She took her clothes, her personal items, and a few pieces of furniture that had belonged to her before we got married. She didn't ask for anything else, which told me she already had somewhere to go. Probably Ben's place. Friday morning, she loaded the last of her boxes into her car. I watched from the kitchen window as she made trip after trip, wondering if she'd try one last manipulation before she left. She did. Julia came back into the house and found me in the kitchen, drinking coffee and reading the news on my laptop. "This is really it?" she asked. "You're really going to throw away 3 years of marriage?" "I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. I made a mistake, Alex. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill or burning dinner. An affair isn't a mistake. It's a choice. You made that choice every day for months." She tried tears again. "I love you, Alex. I know I screwed up, but I love you." "No, you don't. You love the security I provide. You love having someone to pay your bills and clean up your messes, but you don't love me." "That's not true." "Julia, you recorded me in the shower and sent it to your boyfriend so you could both laugh at me. People don't do that to someone they love." She didn't have an answer for that. "Goodbye, Julia. I hope Ben makes you happy." She left without another word. I watched her car disappear down the street, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. But I still had one more move to make. Saturday morning, I drove to Ben's gym. It was one of those trendy fitness centers where people went to be seen as much as to work out. Ben was easy to spot. He was the guy posing shirtlessly in front of the mirror while a teenage girl took photos for his Instagram. I waited until he finished his photo shoot, then I approached him. "Ben, we need to talk." He looked surprised to see me, then defensive. "Look, man, Julia and I are together now. You need to accept that and move on." "Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about." I pulled out a manila envelope. "These are copies of all the evidence I collected during Julia's affair. Photos, text messages, credit card statements, everything." His face went pale. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. Julia didn't leave me for you. She left me because she got caught. And now that she doesn't have my income to fall back on, she's going to be looking for someone else to support her lifestyle." I handed him the envelope. "In there, you'll find some interesting text messages between Julia and her sister, talking about how she's planning to move in with you until she can find someone with real money. There's also a conversation where she calls you a useful idiot with nice abs." Ben opened the envelope with shaking hands and started reading. I watched his face change as he processed what Julia had really thought of him. "She was using both of us, Ben. The only difference is that I figured it out first." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and Ben, you might want to get tested. According to those text messages, you weren't the only guy she was seeing." I left him standing there in his expensive gym, holding the evidence of his girlfriend's true feelings, and drove home to my quiet, empty house. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Monday morning, I got a call from Julia. She was crying, which was unusual. Julia rarely cried unless she wanted something. "Alex, please, I need help. Ben kicked me out, and I don't have anywhere to go." "That's unfortunate. Can I come home? Just temporarily, until I figure things out." "No. Please, Alex, I'm sorry. I know I hurt you. But I'm sorry. Julia, you made your choice. Now you have to live with the consequences." "But I don't have any money?" "You have a job. Figure it out." I hung up and blocked her number. Then I poured myself a cup of coffee, sat down at my kitchen table, and smiled. Julia had spent months thinking she was smarter than me, thinking she could manipulate me indefinitely while she planned her exit strategy. She'd underestimated me completely, assuming I'd always be the nice guy who never fought back. She was wrong. Sometimes the nice guy doesn't finish last. Sometimes the nice guy just takes a little longer to get started, and when he does, he makes sure he finishes the job completely. 3 months later, I heard through mutual friends that Julia had moved back in with her parents and was working at a retail job because her marketing firm had let her go for performance issues. Apparently, all those sick days had caught up with her. Ben had started dating a 19-year-old yoga instructor and was posting inspirational quotes about dodging bullets and learning from mistakes. As for me, I was doing just fine. I'd gotten a promotion at work, started dating a woman who actually seemed to enjoy my company, and learned an important lesson about trust and self-respect. The best revenge, it turned out, wasn't getting mad. It was getting smart. And I was a very smart man.